So, welcome to the Scruffy Dog Podcast with Buddy the Pupfluencer and Cindy. Okay, we don't have a fancy intro or anything. Eventually, we'll get an intro. But Buddy decided that since today it's Casual Friday, we were just going to hang out in the chair that he likes. He did dress for the occasion, and I have my Scruffy Dog Podcast T-shirt on. But anyway, so what we wanted to talk about today, Buddy had the idea to talk about crate training. And this came up this past weekend. Actually, there was a dog being adopted at the shelter, and the potential adoptee had asked me if I thought the dog should be crated. And I said that I personally suggest that all dogs, unless there's a reason not to, should be at least trained to be used to the crate. And my reasons for this, I know not everybody agrees. There are some people that are very against crate training. Now, I believe in it for multiple reasons. And he's only hot because they were outside playing. It's not hot in here, and he's not hot in his clothes, but he was outside playing. But anyway, so my reason for wanting to crate train all of my dogs is, number one, it's a safety issue, because I feel like, say you have construction or painting or repairs or something going on in your house, and you've got workers coming in and out. They a lot of times are not going to remember to shut the door behind them, or they're not going to pay attention. Your dog could get out. Locking them in a bedroom or something is fine, but sometimes that's not possible. And for that reason, that's a perfect example of when it would be good to crate train. Now, I foster dogs, so my dogs all are used to being crated, and all of my fosters get used to being crated, so that if I'm not in the house, every dog is in their crate, so I know that they're safe. If I don't want to come home to having had a dog fight or something like that, or a dog having gotten into anything. So if I'm not here, they're crated. When it's time to feed them, they all eat in their crate. And that's one of the reasons my dogs learn to like their crate, because to them, it's a good place. They go in to eat. So when I get all their dinner bowls ready, even my current foster dog, who in the beginning could not get him in the crate, you'd had to really convince him to go in the crate. Now I get all of the dog bowls out. I walk them into my office where their crates are. Every dog runs into their respective crate and waits. With the doors open, they run in and they stand there and wait, because they know they're going to eat. I put their bowls in. I shut the doors, so you don't have any problem with guarding issues. You don't have one dog trying to take another dog's food. You don't have a problem with, somebody, if they don't eat, the other dogs run up and try to take it. If they eat or they don't, because you're watching them. I know some people free feed. We used to. I actually don't believe that's a good idea now, after learning more things about it. And again, that's something, why I feel like they should each go in their respective crates. They should eat. I can watch. I can see if they're eating or not eating, and I, make sure everybody's okay. So those are a few reasons. I also think that you just never know. If you're traveling, there's an emergency, something like that. If a dog is used to the crate, it's going to make everything a lot easier. So I would suggest, yes, if somebody says, if I'm going to foster or adopt a dog, do you think it should be crated? I think it should at least be acclimated to the crate, yes. And as far as I've talked to other fosters, and they'll be like, oh, this dog hates the crate. And I have not yet had a dog that I can't get used to the crate so far. I'm not saying there aren't some. I'm not saying I'm some kind of dog whisperer. I'm just saying, of the fosters I have, they all get used to the crate and get comfortable in it. Not to say some don't bark. The current one we have, when he wants out, he barks, but he's fine in the crate. I start getting them used to it. I give them either treats in there. I give them their food in there. If they have a special toy, sometimes I'll just let them play with that toy only in the crate, so they start to learn, the crate is a good thing. My dogs, a lot of times when I'm working in the office, all the doors are open. They all go in, sometimes each other's crates, but they all have beds in the crates, and they a lot of times actually just sleep in the crate. It becomes a place that's like their comfortable, happy, safe place. One thing I would suggest you never do not use it as a punishment. If the dog does something, you don't rush it in there and yell at it and throw it in the crate, because then it's going to start to associate the crate as a bad thing. Now, if you need to put the dog in the crate for a timeout, like our current foster sometimes has little emotional outbursts, and when he has to have some time out, I do put him in the crate, but it's not in an aggressive, like, punishment manner. It's just, I take him and I walk him. He stays in a leash and harness right now in the house, because of his, outbursts. It makes it easier to handle him where he's not defensive, because you don't have to reach for him because he's very small. So I'll just take his leash and I walk him to the crate. He knows. I tell him to go in. He goes in. He's got a bed in there, and he's in there. Now I also find some dogs prefer a crate in a room where a lot of activities going on, and they like to be part of activity. Other dogs I find like to be in a more secluded place and have their crate covered. So you kind of have to experiment a little bit with the dogs. But I would say definitely make sure you don't want the crate too big. So if it's like a small dog, it can have a spot and like learn to potty in the crate. You don't want that, but you also want them to have enough room. So you want to find an appropriate size crate so that it's big enough that the dog can move around. Obviously, the dog needs to be able to stand up, and the dog should be able to lay down and stretch out. So the crate should certainly be of suitable size. But again, you wouldn't put like a Yorkie in a giant dog crate, because then they probably will learn to use a portion of it for a potty or something if they're struggling a little bit with potty training. That's another good reason to use a crate. If you are working on housebreaking your dog, you can keep them in the crate, and then as soon as they go to come out, you take them right outside. So they learn, come out of the crate, go outside. They start to just associate going outside with pottying outside versus inside. So I really do feel that unless there's a specific reason not to, that there's no reason that any dog couldn't or shouldn't at least be exposed to a crate. And I do know, like, if I had to travel with the dogs and they had to be crated, or there was some type of evacuation and you had to be in some type of, like a shelter or something, say there was flooding or fires or whatever, it would be much better to have your dog calm and used to the crate rather than already in a stressful situation. You're going to be stressed. They're going to be stressed trying to shove them in the crate, and everybody will be upset. So that would be something, you definitely can avoid by doing this ahead of time. Take your time. If your dog struggles, it's okay. Put him in for a little bit, bring him out, put him back in for a little bit, give him a little snack, bring him back out. Just, don't just shove him in there and leave him. You know what I mean? You want to make it a good experience. But yeah, that would have been, like I said, that was my answer to the person. I don't know if my little microphone is working. It looks like a little rabbit tail. But anyway, that was my answer to the person this weekend as to whether or not it's a good idea to crate train. So again, yes, I would say crate train. What do you think, buddy? All right, you don't think? I don't think. Like I said, I don't think this is working, but Buddy likes it. So anyway, yes, and doesn't he look nice in his tie and he's a little bit he's he's a little sleepy today. He was outside playing, so right now he's in his chillaxing mode. He does have some very exciting news. We can't tell you everything, but he has a new company, and it's something very exciting. He's doing it with it's something that I am doing with my sister, and Buddy has a part in it, and it's very exciting. I have been trying to come up with ideas, things that would be helpful to a lot of dogs, and this is going to be. I'm very excited about it. What do you think? Are you excited about it? Buddy's excited about it because he has his face on one of the labels. So there's it's just very exciting for us. But anyway, so that was a big thing today. Like I said, to talk about is the crate training. So again, I know that there's going to be people there that are going to say, "I would never crate my dog. I think it's so mean. I don't think dogs should be locked up." And I'm not disagreeing. A dog shouldn't live in a crate for sure. But there are many, many times that it is helpful. And like I said, just to recap that, it is much better to have the dog used to the crate and go in calmly and be relaxed than have an emergency situation where the dog is very stressed. Think about that too. That would be its thing, like with the 4th of July coming up. If you've got a dog that is very, very anxious, think how many dogs actually escape around the holiday from the fireworks, they get scared. That would be a time if I had a dog that's very, fearful of fireworks, I would get it used to the crate. I would put the crate in the quietest room that I could. I would cover it, and so that, it was as muffled as possible. And I would have music in there so that it was, sort of drowning out the sound of the fireworks. But to me, that is a super safe option for the dog. I don't have to worry about opening the door and the dog, bolting out. I know everybody says, "Oh, my dog wouldn't do that," but you don't know who's going to walk in your door, who's going to walk out. People, they just aren't careful with the doors. If it's not their dog, or they don't have dogs. I mean, I have people, they just walk out and leave the door open half the time because they don't have dogs. They're not used to it. We don't let our dogs out front. We have a fenced in, like, the front porch, we have it blocked because we have a gate on it because we are in a busy road. But all of our back, we have gates and fences and yards and stuff in the back. But I've had people just open the front door and let the dogs out. They just let them out. So anyway, so that is a very long answer to, should your dog be crate trained? Yes, very good idea. So what do you think, buddy? Is there anything else you want to cover about crate training? What do you think? He likes his crate. Isn't he just the cutest little boy? You see his little paisley tie. What do you think? What else do you want to talk about? He said it was casual Friday, but he dressed up nice anyway. But like I said, I have my Scruffy Dog Podcast T-shirt on. What do you think, buddy? All right, I guess that's pretty much it. We'll just cover some different topics. Some of them are going to be about foster dogs or rescue dogs or things like this. Definitely, there's a lot on food because there are just a lot. You're so cute. There's just a lot of questions about dog food. So I'd be curious, if you happen to see this podcast and you're listening to it. I would love message me, comment, whatever. What do you feed your dog? And I'd be very curious about that. Buddy, but our dogs are on kind of a special diet right now. But I'd be really curious. What do you feed your dog, and what has made you choose that food for your dog? So that's going to be something we're going to talk about next. So anyway, buddy, anything else you want to say? No, I guess he's pretty much just chillaxing. He talked about what he wanted to today, and I guess that's it. So that's it for the Scruffy Dog Podcast, Buddy the Pupfluencer, and we will see you the next time.